part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I'm your host, Damon Royster. Welcome back, everybody, to 2023. We have agreed this is our season two premiere of the podcast. Lord help us, we're doing it. We are talking about the Marvel television series Loki, aka Back to the Future. Joining me today are two wonderful guests, first-time podcast guests. This first guest is an actress, comedian, and writer. Please welcome to your ears, Adisa Williams. Adisa, hello.
Hello. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Damon.
Oh gosh, no problem. Happy to have you. Also joining us today, as cozy as can be in what is either a Snuggie or a wizard's robe, we have writer-comedian Brendan Tran.
Hello. TikTok commenter did say that I look like a waterbender academic. So
I do see that, yes.
Waterbender core.
Well, thank you both so much for being here. Gosh, first question for Adisa. I believe you are new to Marvel and superhero lore. So you watched Loki. I would love to know, how are you feeling about Marvel? How are you feeling about Loki? How was this experience for you?
It was actually better than I thought. Marvel, I still can't tell Marvel from DC, and keep listening. Don't hang up on me. Hey, listen. But Loki in general, I'd only seen him in the background of Avengers and as this just mischievous man that just came and fucked shit up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to see his little backstory and get a little character arc with it. He's very fun. He's like an anti-hero. Kind of reminds me of Deadpool. Anti-comedy, which I like.
Yeah. Ooh, Deadpool. Soon we'll be hearing about Deadpool soon on this podcast. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know how you feel, Brendan, but for me, so this is my second time watching Loki, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more on the second view than the first time I watched it, because I was kind of it was just so much Loki. I needed a break. I felt like this was the second or third series in 2021 on Disney Plus after WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But so yeah, Brendan, your second time watching this, how did you intake Loki?
Yeah, the second time I watched it, I actually wasn't paying too much attention. I was actually paying much more attention to the cinematography.
Of course you were.
Which was amazing. Adisa came over and watched the first two episodes, with me. And there was one point where I had to pause it and I had to be like, oh my God, look at this shot right here. And then it was all.
Can you confirm, Adisa, that this happened?
Very confirm. We were looking at an infinity mirror sequence, and I was like, Brendan, have you never seen this before?
No, but it played so well to the theme of just infinity going on, many timelines, stuff like that. So that was cool. I think that's the imagery of that.
Yeah, totally. Love that. So yeah, let's just dig in. And as I was telling my guest before we started recording, I don't really necessarily need to go. I guess we can go through the plot, but let's take it character by character. So first up, we got the titular character himself, Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston. And yes, have I seen Tom Hiddleston live on Broadway? Yes, get over it. He's a fabulous actor. God, don't ask me any questions.
Oh no.
It was Betrayal was the name of the play.
Okay.
And also co-starred Charlie Cox from Daredevil.
Oh, wow.
It was in 2019. So yeah, I've seen Loki and Daredevil in a play. Anyway, so Adisa, your first impression on Loki, you came out liking him as an anti-hero. How did you enjoy this arc, this journey? Do you feel like he changed? Do you feel like there's faith, or do you have faith that Loki can be the hero the sacred timeline deserves?
First of all, Tom Hiddleston is sexy. This whole Loki is written in the female gaze, I think. Loving the bisexual energy of Loki. And anyways, we'll get into that love story later. But yeah, I enjoyed seeing. I also love psychology. So he obviously was portrayed as a grandiose narcissist throughout. And then seeing him, slowly experience trust and slowly experience what can only be described as self-love
Ultimate self-love.
Ultimate self-love is very heartwarming. I feel like he did change over the series, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting him to just go back to his like mischievous self, but like the final scene where he runs to Mobius and it's like, we gotta go do something. And Mobius is like, who's this analyst? Like he truly thought he was going to change and not be like a loser or like what did he call himself? He's like he's always meant to lose or always meant to like not win.
Yeah.
That's what losing means. But I felt like he truly did. He truly did change. He truly did trust. He got stabbed in the back by himself, not surprisingly.
Yeah.
And I think he did actually want to do the right thing for once, which was wild to see. Shout out to him.
Truly, shout out to him. And that's something that I really picked up on the second viewing because I think I'm something about me, and I've said this on this podcast before, and you know what, I'm probably going to say it again. When it comes to superhero stuff, I like the ground level superhero stuff. Like I'm much more into like a Spider-Man. Like let's break up this mafia mob syndicate versus the cosmic time travel thing. I'm always like, okay, we got to go to space.
Yeah.
I'm still not entirely sure where the TVA is. And also the whole time I'm like, how are they breathing? Where are they? What is physically happening?
Right. Yeah.
But I've come around to the fact that Loki was the right character to tell this story because he's someone who in all the movies repeats the same things. He always betrays. He's always the villain. And so to bring that character into a time travel story of like, can you change your destiny, even though you do the same things over and over again. I thought that was really, really cool. I want to go to Brendan Tran. You've watched all the Marvel things in order, yes?
Yes.
I'm going to put you on blast. Brendan famously does not watch trailers for Marvel movies. I have been in the theater with Brendan where he will close his eyes and cover his ears when a Marvel trailer comes on. I didn't know a grown adult could do that. So, Brendan, how did you like how Loki came to be in this situation? Like from the end game, grabbing the Tesseract. How did that feel for you?
No, it was very interesting because we all have seen Loki throughout all the movies going up. And you say that he repeats the same cycles, which he does. But I did see growth in him before we got to Loki, right? The TV show. I feel like at least, like when we saw him die on that ship with all the Asgardians, I was like, wow, okay. And he was like really trying to save probably himself, but also like everyone, right? Like when his interaction with Thor in that scene. So there was growth for him in my head before that. But something interesting was that you kind of had to like let all of that go because the Loki that we get in this TV show is one that we has not gone through that growth that I've seen already. So that was very interesting, and like it's hard to, and I'm interested to see how that will play out in the rest of this next phase 5, I think, of Marvel. Where we might be seeing like characters from different points in time of like maybe in the past or in the future of like these characters that we've already grown to love. But yeah, Loki, like, sorry, what was the question?
Did you like the fact that like we're picking up where Endgame, like from that one scene in Endgame, and this is where we continue the story?
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I like that. I have issue with time and how it works in like time travel movies and all this stuff, just because like to what you said earlier, where is the TVA? And then we got this imagery of like the end of time at the end of this thing too, of like there's this floating rock and a timeline going around it. I always have issues with that, and like how are they going to go back? And like, oh, there was like all this stuff. So with all that aside, like
he's getting flustered.
Yeah, no, I'll just leave it there. Okay. I like it. Yeah.
Okay, we like it. Adisa Williams, going over to you. Let's shift our focus to the TVA, seemingly run by Owen Wilson and Gugu Mbatha-Raw. How did you enjoy the TVA? Did it like, the whole like Miss Minutes thing, waiting in the line, and like the whole variant thing, like did it make sense? Was it fun? Was it fun to watch? They
just brought the DMV to the Inception version of the Marvel universe, and I was like, I've been here. This is in Massachusetts. What are you talking about? I liked it and I didn't like it. On the one hand, it was familiar and it was the only thing I could follow, to Brandon's point. Because once we started jumping timelines and little cosine curves, I was like, sure, you got me.
Yeah.
There's no way to know if this is correct or not. But the TVA, I guess I had to suspend a lot of disbelief. I like the idea of people jumping through time to be like, that's not supposed to happen. But then it does beg the question of like, who could care this much about what happens in the universe? And why is it 3 people? How have they not fought yet? And why are they so secretive? And who built them? Like, who created them? I feel like it's very weird to me that there's an entire universe of people who are like, the TVA born us from scratch, and never asked themselves like where the TVA came from. That to me was like, okay, sure, I'll believe it, but there's got to be one curious person.
Yeah, absolutely. That was something I had completely forgotten about. Like the whole like these creatures, what are they called? The time masters? Not time masters.
The Minutemen.
The Minutemen?
The people with the wands, or the 3 godlike people?
The 3 godlike people that were like floating.
Oh, the timekeepers, yeah.
Yes, the timekeepers of the sacred timeline. Glorious purpose. I gotta say, so many jargony words. I do like that because I'm a nerd for that. We get Owen Wilson, who's famously not my favorite Wilson brother.
Oh,
I like the other one.
Slander.
Slander. That's what we do on this podcast. We slander. I dare anyone to wish someone would find me, because it would prove.
If Owen Wilson was listening to this, he would be like, wow.
They're really dragging me. Owen Wilson, I will say, this is the only time I've enjoyed Owen Wilson, and I don't know what it is. This is it. Name any movie, and I will say he's garbage in it. Except for Loki.
He was good. I did enjoy his performance. He was the perfect like dopey guy.
Yeah, and I think it was a good like foil to Loki, because Loki's like very grandiose and big and kind of British, but not from England. And then Owen's just so ho-hum and a middleman. So I like their dynamic together. Brendan Tran, how did you take Owen Wilson? Did you take him well? Take him good?
No,
did it go down easy?
No, yes. I like Owen Wilson. I am a fan of Owen Wilson, so there was no problem with him.
There's a huge Owen Wilson poster behind Brendan right now.
I think he's a great comedic relief naturally. Like, he doesn't really need like punchlines or anything. He just like naturally says things in a funny way and has a chill attitude about things. So yeah, like you said, he was a good foil to Loki, who's very not as chill about anything. We needed that kind of like character to ground us a little bit, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say overall, this series, I think I don't know if I want to say like the pacing, but like it took a while for me to get like what we would be doing, because I think there's like a lot of setup. Like we have to build out the TVA, and then we have to like establish Loki figuring out that he's in the wrong timeline. So I like that scene where Owen Wilson showed him everything that Loki had, like all the movies that this Loki missed.
Yeah.
So that was fun. But then I think it really kicks into high gear. Also, in the second episode, it takes so long for Loki to explain like this like Nexus event thing where like if you go to like an apocalypse, then the TVA can't find you.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on board pretty quickly with that, but it took so like they had to go to Pompeii to prove it. I think that was that was a bit much. But I love this like where do they go? The future of Atlanta, where there's like a major storm coming. They go to like that that store.
It was Alabama. Yeah.
Alabama. Okay. That was one. I would pause my TV because I thought that looked really cool with the rain and like the neon lights and everything. And this is where we meet Sylvie, aka White Woman with the Blonde Bob.
Thank God. Rock's Cart. It was called Rock's Cart.
Rock's Cart. Yes. So Adisa, you meet this blonde female version of Loki, Sylvie. How did you feel about Sylvie?
Brendan said I had to tell you for the half episode I watched after that. I was like, it's his mama.
You thought it was his mom?
I thought it was his mom. Who's more evil than Loki? His mom. That makes sense to me. But I don't know his mom.
No.
So clearly it wasn't. I was like, oh yeah, it's mother versus son. Feminism in the Marvel universe.
For once.
Anywho's, I met her and I was like, oh, I guess I was like, why? And then I was like, oh, love interest. This makes sense. But then I was like, no way. He can't fall in love with himself. Spoiler alert.
He does.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I would say I hated her acting the most out of everybody. I'm just gonna say that off the rip.
Wow.
Damn.
Tell us
Her and Gugu
more.
Mambatha Raw, they were fighting for their lives in this thing. I don't know. I think, honest to God, I was like, shout out to the managers that got him in the part. But damn.
I mean,
I
you
just-
could say what you want about Gugu, but I'm sorry, you can say what you want about Sylvie, but Gugu and Bathra, that's my heart.
I
That's
love
my heart.
Gugu. I've been watching Gugu since the little $1 million budget days. Like,
Mhm.
trust me, but I did not get her character. Owen Wilson's whole scene about like, but we're friends. I was like, are y'all fucking or not? What's happening? Anyways, that whole friendship moment, like friends don't betray friends. I was like, this is sexual tension, but not. It's so confusing. I don't know how to feel. And so maybe I can blame other people for my feelings and blame their acting for how I feel. Who knows?
Do you think it's their acting or the writing? Because I think I know what you're talking about. Was it the scene at the end in the last episode where they were like confronting each other, or like Owen Wilson came back to confront her?
Who are you talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about Gugu and Owen Wilson. Sorry, they have character names. Miss Mama and Mobius.
Miss Mama.
There was a scene like episode 3 where they were just like talking to each other, and she was in his room, and she was like, "I want to protect you. You're my friend," or whatever. Disney. Of course, they can't fuck because it's Disney, but I think there's a backstory there. That's how I feel.
Let's say that. Yeah. Okay. Well, so Sylvie. So we got issues. We don't like Sylvie's acting. Brendan, how did you feel about Miss Sylvie?
I like
her broken
Sylvie.
horn.
Oh wait, what broken horn? What is this?
Her little Loki crown. I think she was missing one because it has like the two like horn things. Hers was missing. One was missing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because she's been running.
No. Okay. Wow. Little details. We love that for Marvel. I didn't have anything to say about Sylvie's acting. Maybe I'm just not too in tune with like good or bad acting, but I believed her. What I had issues with more was like some of the writing. Some of the writing was like phenomenal, and some of it was like very lazy. In terms of like when Sylvie was first introduced, we didn't see her yet, but like her body in the shadows. And then they were like, "Oh, we have to get to this timeline, and then prune the timeline before time runs out." Every single time there was a logic flaw, Adisa would ask like, why aren't they doing this? And then they would address it in the show, but in a very lazy way. Like for example, when the amount of time that was left, they were like, why can't we just like time travel to before this event happened? And they were like, oh, time doesn't work that way. And I was like, what the hell? So that kind of stuff I had more issues with. The acting, like, no, I like Sylvie. So yeah, let's just fight. If Sylvie was bad at acting or like made bad choices, I would more say that was the writing versus the acting for me.
I can see that. Yeah, Sylvie, I'm glad she was there. It was nice to like have Loki have a more. I liked what she did where like there was that whole thing, especially in the end of the second episode where she like jumped through one of those like beige portals, and the TVA saw, God, it looked like a Jolly Rancher, honestly. The TVA like saw Loki and they're like, oh, Loki's doing it. He's like still a villain. So there was like this like, who was controlling who thing. But Adisa, you were like saying you like psychology. Like, what does this mean that, when someone falls in love with themselves? Is that?
Well, there are two sides to it, and I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about it. But like on the surface level, of course, the only person a narcissist can truly love is himself. So that's commentary. And that shows the superficiality of the condition and blah, 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 blah. But on the other level, I do think it speaks to like the id. Carl Jung, let's get into it. Psychology.
Please,
the id and the shadow, the ego and the shadow. They were like shadow selves of each other. So I think one of the lines at the end was like, we can't be together because I don't know how to trust. And you are not worth, you're not trustworthy. And I was like, whoa, that's so deep. Wow. One wants to trust and the other is just betrayal to the ends of the earth. And anyways, it was very interesting to see a foil of Loki that wasn't necessarily a good guy. So like I'd say Owen Wilson was like Loki's good foil because he was very hopeful and like he saw the good in Loki and was like, no, he can change. And Sylvie was Loki's like anti-foil, but so that she wasn't good at all. She still wanted the throne for herself. But then by being around her, I think it polarized him to make more good choices and be like, I don't want to be like you anymore. I want to be better. So it's kind of like, it's like him versus himself, looking at your version of yourself. Like, I want to be better than I was yesterday. And I feel like she didn't really grow over the whole, she was like, she represented what would have happened if he stayed flat and just like worried about himself and only caring about gaining power. And that was a good foil for him to push against to see some of his character growth in comparison to her. But yeah, when they kissed, I was like, I don't know if I could be watching this. It was Disney, and I was like, I don't know. This feels so fucking weird.
But that's such a great point of like him having those two foils of like Owen Wilson and Sylvie. I feel like I have my own foil, which is this break we're about to take. So,
I thought you were gonna bring up some aluminum foil or something.
No. That was what we call a seamless transition on this podcast. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back to talk more about Loki. And who haven't we talked about? Oh my gosh, fucking Kang. Jonathan Majors will be discussed after the break. So please keep it right here. Podcast 616 will be right back.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us, and then listen in.
Welcome, everyone, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I am your host, Damon Royster, and I am inviting you to listen and subscribe to this Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. On Podcast 616, we gather some of today's greatest comedians, writers, and actors to dive deep into all things Marvel, like comic book history and lore, all the interconnected superhero storylines, and of course, who's hot and who's not in the MCU. Honestly, why aren't you listening right now? You have the power to listen to Podcast 616. And as we always say, with great power comes even greater responsibility. Listen and subscribe to Podcast 616 wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, my name is Sam Post, owner of Phenomenal CBD Store and PhenomenalCBD.com. That's like phenomenal, CBD.com. Tune in where we talk with experts about how the amazing hemp plant can make a difference for people's health and well-being. From the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we're back. We're back to Podcast 616. Truly, hopefully I'm not skipping too much, but my favorite episode of this whole series was the 5th episode with all the Lokis in that, what was that, limbo universe place?
The Void.
The variance in the Void.
Was it Lamentus 1? No, maybe it was.
No, Lamentus, that was the planet that was being destroyed where they like got on the train, Loki and Sylvie.
Oh, okay. That wasn't it. But yeah, the Void, you're right. The Void. Yes, I did love all the Lokis. And when they backstabbed each other, I was like, this is perfect.
That was hilarious. Adisa, who was your favorite Loki?
My favorite Loki, that kid that was just bossing them around and then was like, you're listening to this kid. And he was like, I killed Thor, bitch. And I was like,
The only one of them to do it.
I know. I was like, you better fall in line while he drink his juice box. Let's go.
And then Brendan, favorite Loki?
Yeah, I don't remember what his name was dubbed, but Loki Gator or Alley Loki or whatever, the alligator.
Yeah, you would like that.
When he took off that man's hand in one clean swoop.
Just a
Get him,
snatch.
Loki Gator. Ooh.
I think for me, didn't really like that. I mean, the actor, he's a good actor, whatever, but like the older Loki, I just love the costume, like the OG Loki comic book costume, just with the insane antlers. Respect for the classics. So we're in this void, and we got all these GD Lokis. Did anyone, so that cloud monster thing, did that give anybody like that sand tiger from Aladdin?
Yes.
Yes,
that's what it is. Goliath.
Goliath.
A play on David and Goliath for the Bible heads.
Oh.
I think.
You don't even have time to say that. Guh.
I know. He ate the G.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, how are they going to take it down? You can't take down a cloud, but Marvel magic, I guess
Marvel
they did.
magic. Yeah, so Sylvie just enchanted the cloud.
That's when I was like, all right, y'all have earned my trust because this don't make no sense and we all know it.
It's just like, I opted out of taking physics, so maybe that's on me, but like, you can't touch a cloud.
I know. We just got some VFX and then all of a sudden we were behind the cloud and I was like, all right, you know what? I'll take it. At this point, I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I was transported back to 2010 at the end of Lost.
Yeah, the smoke monster. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just trying to like the writers trying to figure out what to do with the smoke monster. I feel like it was the same here.
I will geek out. I thought it looked really cool when the clouds parted and there was like the road to the space castle with the timeline surrounding it. It looked really cool. I was like, yeah, I'm a sucker for this. Like, even though it makes no goddamn sense, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like the top thing of the show was the visuals, I will say.
Yeah. They spent money on them SFX. Also, that, you know who Goliath reminds me of? The dragon in Shrek. That's what it is.
In Shrek?
That's what it is. Yes.
Where's Donkey? Where's the love?
Jonathan Majors was the donkey.
Yeah. Oh, we've spoken his name. We have to talk about Brendan Tran. What is your relationship to Kang, and do you feel like Jonathan Majors lived up to it?
I had no idea who Kang was before this because like you mentioned, I try to avoid any kind of spoilers or knowing anything more than I need to know besides watching the movies and TV. And I know that doesn't make me a true like Marvel like fanatic, but I was gonna say freak, but I changed it to fanatic. But I prefer to be not in the know. So I had no idea what he was or who he was before this. And his introduction was very amusing, and I really enjoyed his performance.
That smile, it was crazy.
Yeah. Oh God, he's good. I first saw him in Lovecraft Country, which it was a little too scary for me and a little too like kind of creepy. He was great in that too, but it was such a change from his character in Lovecraft Country to this character here, and it was so nice to see him in like this kind of more like kind of sillier character, goofy character at the top at least. So that was a breath of fresh air. So I really enjoyed what he did with the role.
Yeah, I'm such a big fan of him. I think he's like, I feel like we're seeing like the next big movie star on the rise with Mr. Majors. And he presents this like crazy, like, we get the backstory about Kang. I think this was also like why I didn't like Loki the first time I watched it, because like I was like, I'm not even trying to think about Kang right now. Like, what are you doing? Like, I can't take all of this. But now that we're we're about to go into Quantum Mania, which Brendan, I don't know if you know, but it could be important to know who Kang is. I'll just say that. Okay.
I now know with the story of with the background of the last episode. Now I know more about him, and I did some Googling afterwards. Because they didn't say his actual name in the show, did they?
They said He Who Remains. They did not say Kang, and apparently that's a whole contention based on the blogs.
I would say stay off the blogs, but that's just me. But so he gives his backstory that like he was one of many Kang. Like apparently all Kangs at one point like discovered each other and discovered the multiverse, and they did a big old war. And then this Kang or he who remains,
Mhm.
created the sacred timeline, cut off everybody, and like is now invented the TVA and made sure like to keep the timeline in order so no one veers off the path. And then there's this dilemma, like if you kill him, then all Kangs are gonna come loose, and then if you don't, then like all Lokis have to die. So Adisa Williams, going to you, what would you do? What would you do if like there were multiple Adisas and this conqueror was trying to like erase you from the timeline?
I'm still noodling that ending.
Mhm.
I think the right answer was to just be like, well, thanks, he who remains, for the explanation. We're gonna go back home now.
Right?
But I don't think Loki or Sylvie would like let themselves do that pride-wise. So that was very funny to watch. The
Mhm.
answer was you just leave it. Because the funny thing about humans, sorry to get into essential, everybody wants to play God till it's time to be God. And it's not fun.
Ooh.
Like that man just sitting in a castle up with himself, chewing his little apple, clearly
Mhm.
amusing himself. Like he's bored. He's like, kill me. I wish you would. I'm so bored.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's like not fun to just sit and restrict people for your entire life. So, anyways, I wouldn't want to be him. I saw that man. I was like, this man is lonely. He needs somebody to talk to. He can keep doing it. I'm gonna just leave it as is, which seems boring and probably is not worthy of a whole series. So, yeah, that's why it was Loki and not me.
Fair, very fair. Brendan, Tran, you said that this is this the scene that you had beef with? Speak on your
Well,
beef.
I didn't get to it in my rewatch, so I might need some help and guidance here. But that choice that you talked of, either kill him or I think the choice was either kill him or you two have to rule. And I was like, there's no like, if those aren't opposites, like they can like kind of exist at the same time. Like I don't get the choice here. And to that end as well, I didn't realize like I'm noticing this now where I'm not really sure what the motivations were for either of the Lokis to like get to this point. Outside of like they kind of touch on like, oh, Loki is always trying to be king of everything, right?
Yeah.
And was that his motivation to get to the end? I know Sylvie's was revenge, right?
Right, because she's been hunted by the TVA since she was a child. So she's lived. This has been her whole life, being told she's a variant. And
so then, go ahead.
Oh, I think because Kang does offer them that compromise of like, oh, we can live in the timeline together or something. Like I think Loki just like wants to find a way to live possibly with Sylvie and no longer be hunted by the TVA.
He was in love, but Sylvie didn't love him back for real.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, speaking of which, what about the choice that Miss Minutes gave them? Remember when they first got there, Miss Minutes was like, how would you like to have all the Infinity Stones or like something, the Tesseract? And I was like, y'all should have just taken offer 1 or 2 because offer 3 was ass.
Right. So I don't get that because it seemed like there were so many blocks to get the Lokis getting there. And in the end, Kang was like, oh, I wanted to give this to you anyway. Like, I don't get that.
There was no resistance. Yeah.
I mean, for me, this is where I go into a little bit more like, conspiracy theory about the end, like the franchise. Cause it's like this last episode really like turned over to Jonathan Majors. I feel like this episode was more concerned with setting up Kang and like the future conflicts that will come from that. Cause it really did feel like, because literally both Lokis were just sitting there listening to someone else for like 5 minutes after like 5 episodes of like, so
were,
I mean,
were we expecting like a big battle with Kang?
Maybe I'll talk. I maybe this is where I bring up my thoughts about the fighting in this show. I don't know who the stunt coordinator was, but like the fighting in this gave me pirate. It just felt very swashbuckly. Yeah. Just a lot of like knife and like it was just like a lot of stab.
I'm always amused by the fighting in Disney movies because isn't it Disney that contractually can't show blood? So it's just a bunch of like thumps and bumps in the night. If you want to see more of that, see Mulan. See how they do an entire 2-hour movie with no bloodshed. It's incredible.
The live action Mulan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that was good. That did have good fighting.
It was, but it was just like I've never seen so many foot soldiers never draw blood. I was like, come on, kids need to know. At this
Yeah.
point, kids need to know. Like they're gonna try this and get busted up.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fighting sequences, I thought I enjoyed them. I did think it was a little knifey. It was a little knifey.
A little knife. I enjoy a good laser blast here and there, you know.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's
'Cause
they have
fair. There wasn't
magic.
enough
Yeah.
magic. There wasn't enough
Adisa,
magic.
you did mention that. You were like, oh, why are they using their fists so much and not their magic?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They
was-
should have just been snapping fingers and just making people. But then, and this is the last thing I'll say, I'll shut up. But like the whole unaliving people with this little yellow ember coal,
Mhm.
it made the whole thing so unserious because I'm like, okay, you unalive someone and they keep living. So what is death? What is pain? What is punishment? What if it keeps looping? What is there to be afraid of? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. I agree. So I don't know if I wanted a big fight at the end, but I just feel like, and maybe this is why the show's getting a season 2. It just feels like you said, it was anticlimactic, and I feel like we just didn't achieve anything. I mean, it ends on a big cliffhanger, so I'm just kind of like, it feels unresolved.
Yeah.
And I'll say that.
I
But
feel like Loki, you could just keep doing this series and jumping back and forth. Like they could do 49 seasons of this. They truly could. They've set it up in a way to where they could be like, psych, he's not dead. We just reverse. Psych, Uno reverse. And I'm just like, no more. Please. Somebody needs to actually for real die.
That's the theme of Loki in general, I think, is he keeps on dying, quote unquote, but then never dies, like even before the show. And then when Thanos killed him in Endgame, that was like his true death, and then we see him alive again. So that was it's
he's a little cockroach in the universe.
Joke. Yeah.
I think so. Do you think we're gonna see Loki and Thor meet up again in another Avengers movie? And Thor's like, really? You again?
Ooh, probably. They have to, right?
Because I mean, if the idea is that Kang is going to be the next big bad Avengers villain, Loki was the first one of the characters that we know of to have met him, so he would have a lot of information that he would need to share.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Honestly,
unless Thor isn't in those movies anymore, because isn't he kind of sizzling out, and like Natalie Portman's taking over? Like I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, everybody's still Natalie Portman. She didn't make it. I hate to tell you.
Wait! I forgot. Wait, really? No.
Wait, you haven't seen Love and Thunder?
I have, but I forgot.
Yeah, she dies at the end. I'm so sorry. She did not make it. Yeah, but Thor did. Thor got a new little daughter. But man, as I talk about Loki, I'm like back to my original thoughts. It's just exhausting because it just keeps going.
Yes.
But you know what is never exhausting? A hearty round of Fuck, Marry, Kill. And I would like to bring us to our final segment, which we do every week on Podcast 616, Fuck, Marry, Kill. On the docket today, we've got the titular star, Loki, son of Odin. We've also got Owen Wilson. Oh, I didn't even talk about his name is Mobius, not to be confused with Morbius, which is another terrible, which is a different Marvel franchise. And then, so we got Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie, female Loki herself. I will go first to give my guests time to think. Oh, I do think, who do I kill? It's going to be one of the Lokis for sure.
Damn.
I think I'm going to kill Sylvie because I thought I did enjoy her, but her last move of killing Jonathan Major's character and releasing the sacred timeline, it is all her fault. And I think if I can go back in time, I would take her out, and then I think we'd all be fine. For my fuck, I will be fucking Loki. Not usually my brand. He's too skinny, too much hair. Not really what I'm into. Yeah, I'll break it down. I don't care. But
go for it.
Like I could see it. For a night, I could make it happen. And then for Mary, I'm as surprised as anyone. I'm gonna marry Owen Wilson. I didn't think I'd be here, but The mustache worked for me. The little doopy outfits worked for me. I'm gonna do a better job than Gugu Mbatha-Raw. I'm gonna close the fucking deal.
Amen.
And lock him down.
That's real.
That's where I'm at. All right. Does anyone feel ready to go with their picks?
I will go because
Adisa,
we're so
please.
similar.
Yeah.
I would fuck Loki. He gives me pure toxic X vibes. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Just scrumdiddly yum yum.
Oh
I
no,
can see that
unpack
man
it.
wrecking my life. I could unpack it or I could fuck it,
Uh,
but he's gonna tease you and tempt you with therapy and like ever so small increments of getting better as a person. So he's just gonna
Mhm.
like keep you hooked for as long as you want to relive your trauma. Love that for me.
Oof. Mhm.
Mary, you have to do Owen Wilson. He's giving the guy in Everything Everywhere All at Once, the husband
Oh
in
yeah,
that
Ke
film.
Huy
Kwan. He's giving like
Yes.
the optimist that like knows that life is hard but chooses joy. And I'm like, that's what I need on my team. So I could just depress him. Love that for me. And then kill 2-for-1 special. I'm gonna kill both Sylvie and fucking He Who Remains because
Wow.
yeah, that was not the performance for me. It looked like a satirical villain to me.
oh,
was
you
just-
didn't like
You
it.
didn't like
Oh
him.
no. And I know Jonathan Majors is gonna act because I watched The Harder They Fall. Highly recommend on Netflix. That was the role that made me fall in love with him.
The Western movie, right?
Yes,
So
so
fucking good.
good.
Yeah.
Loved it. But this little, I'm gonna be eating an apple and you can't kill me. Have a seat. Oh, fuck off. Fuck off. They deserve each other. Anyways, that's my fuck, marry, kill.
Damn. And that was cold-blooded. And
That's how I feel.
for the Loki
That's how
episode,
I feel.
I wouldn't expect anything less. Perfect. Okay, I feel like we're bullying now for Brendan. Are you gonna be different?
Hearing your answers, I want to change mine. So I
Go with your heart.
No, I'm on the
Your
same
heart.
page for killing Sylvie. I just think I didn't mind the actress at all. I didn't mind I think I just minded the choices that she made, and that like her motivation and revenge. I just grow up. Like I don't know. It just doesn't like to me.
Grow
Yeah,
up.
that's not. It's not big
She's
enough.
a literal child.
Yeah, you've been living forever. Like running away. I guess, but like still.
Yeah.
Go to therapy or something. I don't know. I actually would fuck Owen Wilson.
Ooh.
I want to know what that's like. I want to know what he's like in the bedroom. Like with Loki,
Wow.
I feel like
Wow, Brandon, I really like that.
yeah, I feel like there's oh yeah, you like that? Yeah, there's like more mystery of what he would do in the bedroom versus Loki. I feel like you get what you see. So there's no mystery there.
So you're gonna marry the no
Wow.
mystery.
I think. Well, see, I think I marry for different reasons. Not for love could be in it, but it's more of a like contract of like, are you gonna take care of me, financially, emotionally, and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I would,
So romantic.
yeah. And Loki, I feel like he'll find a way to always make it to the top and be the king of the land. So you can take
Capricorn King. Love that.
Capricorn King, yes. Woo! Another amazing round of Fuck, Marry, Kill. Thank you all so much. Last question I have. Will you watch Loki season 2? I know Brendan's going to. Yeah.
Yes. But
Brendan,
I'm gonna avoid the trailers.
Yes.
If it starts with Jonathan Majors, no. If they don't get somewhere in the first 2 episodes, no. But if they do take it out this time jumping and they put Loki in therapy, yes, that's interesting.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, none of that's probably gonna happen.
Okay, fine.
All these superheroes should be in therapy. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you all so much for joining us on Podcast 616. Adisa Williams, where can people find you on the internet, or should they?
Yes, find me. AdisaWilliams.com has links to all my socials and things you can watch. Watch the CBS Showcase, now streaming. And yeah, look for me in shows in Chicago in March and onwards.
Love it. Also, your CBS Showcase, it was so fucking funny. Your Ashy sketch was
Yay!
beautiful. I could not recommend watching that highly enough. It's so good. Go watch it. Brendan Tran, where can people find you?
You can find me on TikTok at Bren F Tran for little silly jokes.
Mm-hmm.
No shows for me. I don't do live shows anymore.
I literally did a live show with you last month.
Oh, really?
Don't lie to me. Beautiful. You can follow this podcast on Instagram. Podcast 616P3 is where you can find us. That P3 stands for Press Play Podcast, which is the podcast network that gives us the reason why you're listening to us. Thank you so much, Press Play Podcast, Press Play Productions. You can follow me at Damon Royster on Instagram. If you're in the Los Angeles area this Wednesday, February 1st, check out the Illuminati Hour. It's a comedy variety show. I'll be co-hosting it with my good friend Elizabeth Andrews. If you want to hear what she sounds like, listen to the Eternals podcast. Don't watch the movie The Eternals, just listen to the podcast we did about it. Last thing, I just want to check in with producer Michael. If you want to hop on the mic real quick, what letter grade would you give this podcast episode?
A solid A.
Ooh.
What? Would
GPA.
Michael say C, please? Would Michael say C plus? Would you say like D minus?
No.
On the spot?
No.
That's fair. Okay.
No. I keep my GPA high. Thank you so much, producer Michael. Thank you, Adisa and Brendan. And thank you, Loki, wherever you are in the time stream. This has been Podcast 616. Next week, we're getting into some Ant-Man action, so stay tuned. Yeah, and until next time, always remember that with great power comes even greater responsibility.